Back with our next episode of Count the Bucket, CTB, as you can see with Nick up there. Isn't that just pretty sitting there by your face there, Nick? Like, I mean, it helps your screen a little bit for me on my end. But welcome back for our next episode. We got a full plate. As you guys can see, we look a little bit more handsome here. We've got Aaron joining us today. CJ already making these comments, these faces I can see when I make these comments. Aaron, I don't care to say another guy looks beautiful or handsome, but CJ usually rags on me a little bit because I think Booker is one of the most handsome NBA players I've ever seen.
How are we starting the show like this?
Well, when I said we look a little more handsome, I already seen CJ's look, and I was like, well, I just got to go ahead and throw this out here.
I didn't know we was going to start the show like that.
Jump off the gates with it.
So happy to have Aaron back on the show. Aaron is no stranger to us, especially with Count the Bucket. But with some of our guys out here, you may not know who he is. So right now, Aaron, take a moment, introduce who you are, what all you represent, what many hats you wear, and the floor is yours here.
I appreciate it, guys. Glad to be back on CTB. It's a pleasure. Always glad to kind of chat with you guys about the NBA at large, what's going on in our world. So what I've been up to recently is being a co-founder and a contributor over at an entity that I helped create called No Trade Clause. So we've been running that website and a podcast over the past almost 2 years now, which is kind of hard to believe, but we have the website. We have a bunch of resources like cap sheets for every team. We have draft capital. So if you want to track all the draft picks for your favorite team or whatever team you're interested in looking at, transaction log, things like that. So just running that resource, just promoting it, getting it, blowing it up, getting more eyes on it, kind of like you guys are doing. Count the Bucket and Unwrapped and everything. So just taking some of the skills that I've learned over the years, just running my own podcast, my own website, and carrying it over to a bigger outlet, a bigger scale over at No Trade Clause. And recently had the experience to go out to Summer League for about a week and promote it out there and do some networking. And, I'm sure I can get into a little bit more of that later. But that's basically what I do now. As far as in the NBA world, just more podcasts, more website content, things like that, just networking and just enjoying the NBA world. So like I said, glad to be here and hope all you guys are doing well. Try to talk ball.
Absolutely. And of course, with CJ, you and Nick, I've missed y'all last week. I was on vacation, got a little sun down in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, not a beach or anything, but definitely got to hang out around where Dolly Parton has built a beautiful place. I don't know if y'all have ever been anywhere close to Gatlinburg, but it's a wonderful place. Didn't even go to Dollywood, but let me tell you, I spent a pretty penny while I was down there. I'm pretty sure I'm broke. So everyone that's watching this now, y'all need to go to YouTube and subscribe to our channel to try to help me build that bank account back up and help us with some of these subscribers. You guys been doing okay? I ain't heard from you in a couple of weeks. They're seeing them pretty faces.
I've been doing great. I was actually driving back last week from Virginia, so that's why unfortunately I wasn't able to be on the show. But besides, I'm doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Chilling, man. Chilling. Glad you guys are doing well. Glad to chop it up, talk some basketball with my guy Aaron. So good Sunday.
Let's get it. So one reason, well, not the only reason, but I say one reason, that we wanted to reach out to Aaron and try to get him to come on to the show is we're very jealous of him. What he got to do, we actually got to see him on ESPN. So, kind of celebrity here. First we have Seth Greenberg on the show, who was down with the Summer Leagues, and now we follow it up with Aaron, who is also at the Summer Leagues. I don't know if y'all's paths crossed or anything, but Aaron got to be on TV. I think Nick got a picture of him that he got snapped.
It's a video, yeah.
Appreciate you, man.
So I want to hear about your experience down in the Summer Leagues, what all you was doing with your no trade clause, your opportunities you had there, and just kind of just go in at just a recap of everything you got going on that you were able to experience, because this is your second time going, right?
Technically, it was my third year. It was my second year going to a trade clause.
Okay.
In that capacity. But, essentially went down there with the other three guys that are a part of the no trade clause team currently. We met up over there. We got in at different times. So I got in one day, and then, we kind of followed up in the subsequent days. But we got there, settled in, went to Thomas and Mack, Cox Pavilion, watched a few games. But, our main mission was to promote, like I said, no trade clause, to get more eyes on it, promote it through podcasts and just going and meeting people. And, over the years, we've been fortunate enough to meet some people that have got eyes on our website. They enjoy our work. So we went out there and created those relationships. One of the guys that are part of our team, his name is Oliver. He's a part of like our scouting department, you can say. So he's really into the draft process, the scouting realm, things like that. So he went out there and he's been at a gym in Miami for most of the summer, a gym that many NBA guys hit up to do workouts and things like that with their trainers. So through that, he was able to gain some connections and found out that a lot of those guys were going to be in Vegas while we were there. So he hit them up, had a good relationship with them. They were gracious enough to offer their time to come on our podcast. We had the studio set up in the concourse, so we didn't have exclusive rights to it or anything. We weren't the only people using the studio. There were other shows. Iguodala and Evan Turner had a show out there. Chris Haynes had a show. There were some big-time people using the studio, so we were just one of several shows out there. But we were fortunate enough to get a few opportunities to have a podcast. So we brought on some NBA trainers like Aaron Miller, who's trained Patrick Beverly, some influencers, some guys on social media like Rafael Barlow, who started up a draft page, NBA draft page on Twitter. Hoop Intellect, he has a YouTube page and a Twitter with a lot of followers. He came on our show. Bobby Marks from ESPN, guys like that. A lot of big time people out there. So just got the opportunity to kind of learn more about them, to establish relationships. I think my favorite part about Summer League was getting to chop it up with ET and Iguodala for a little bit after their podcast. And we, interacted a little bit. They subscribed to our podcast, which was pretty cool. They seemed to be a fan of what we were doing. And there was a mutual respect there. So we had that relationship going. That was pretty cool. Chopping it up with Bobby Marks and learning about his process of covering the league as an insider and his experience as a previous GM, things like that. And then hitting up the games, that's one of my favorite parts about Summer League is, meeting up with guys like, for instance, guys like, you guys that I have met over the years of doing podcasts with, and you just say, hey, we're going to go watch the Pistons and Pacers today in Cox Pavilion. You just go hit up the game and, you can sit wherever you want almost. You can be behind the bench, right behind some big time NBA players, and you're just taking in the action. And, it's a smaller gym than like an NBA sized gym. So you go in there and it feels like a high school gym. So it's more intimate and you're closer to the action, and it's just an incredible atmosphere. So I just say for anybody that's ever considered going to Summer League, I highly recommend it. If you're an NBA fan in any way, shape, or form, it's the best networking opportunity. It's just a great time. If you're a fan, you just want to watch some games. You never know who you'll run into. You can just be strolling down the concourse and run into Ben Matherin, after a podcast, or, someone like that. It could be Anthony Edwards, out there. It could be Tyler Hero. It could be GMs, coaches. Like, everyone is out there. LeBron James, Westbrook show up one day, and they didn't want to speak to each other for whatever reason. And, that's been highly covered, highly publicized. But, everybody's out there, man. So I just highly recommend it to anybody who wants to go. And I had a great experience for the second time going into a trade clause. And I really hope that you guys get the opportunity next year to go as Count the Bucket with Unwrapped and have that opportunity to network yourself, because the sky's the limit. All it takes is one relationship, one connection, and you're off and running, and that leads to the next and the next. So it was a great time. I really enjoyed my stay there, and it's hoops heaven. That's the best way I can describe it to people on the outside that haven't got a chance to go. So I love it, and hope you guys get the opportunity to do the same next year.
Awesome.
Yeah, you talked about some of the players. You talked about your experience. That's amazing. Hopefully, again, we could also all four of us could go down there next year and really chop it up and gain connections and network. What about some of the players that you have saw, maybe that you were impressed by throughout the few weeks or so? A lot of talk about the rookies that just got drafted. Keegan Murray had a phenomenal summer league. Ivy got hurt, but he definitely showed flashes of greatness in his his small stint with the Pistons. So who are some players that you might have, even though you might not have gone to some games, but definitely had your eye on and were impressed by?
There's a few names that come to mind. Ben Matherin, definitely number one for me. The first guy I can think about. He was the guy that Iguodala and Turner had on their podcast, and they dropped some nuggets of wisdom on him on the Rook and just kind of let him know what's up as far as like getting into the NBA world. But man, he looks so smooth as a scorer. He looks confident already off the bat. I think he was an excellent pick by the Pacers to go along with Halliburton in the backcourt. I've been a proponent of that pairing for ever since draft night. I thought it was just an excellent pairing, a great fit. And, he had great scoring games, 20 plus on good efficiency. Looks like a guy that's going to be able to score, I think, at all three levels. And, he already comes in as a strong shooter. That was just one of his calling cards coming out of Arizona, just very strong as a shooter and be able to create space, good shot creator already off the bat. So I'm just really excited to see him with Halliburton, who is an efficient scorer himself, but is more methodical and loves to get people involved, set people up. He routinely has double-digit assist games. So I think the two of them working in tandem is going to be extremely exciting. Moving on to a sophomore that I saw, luckily I got to saw in one of his limited stints was James Wiseman. In one of those summer league games where he came off the bat and just immediately had an impact on both ends, where that's where I think the Warriors are just going to love his presence, because he doesn't project as a guy that's going to dominate the ball, going to need a ton of touches. He just got to fit in seamlessly. He was just getting good looks at the basket, alley-oops, blocks, rebounds. That's all they need from him. They don't need him to be a number 2 pick that averages 25 and 10. Like, they just need him to be out there, and you can average 12 and 10 and 3 blocks and be good, because the other guys can take care of the rest as far as their perimeter players. So he's another guy that really stood out to me. While we're on the subject of the Warriors, Moody was awesome as well. I witnessed him. He had that 34-point game, and then the Warriors immediately shut him down. They said, that's all we need to see. You're clearly better than all these guys out here. It's your second year. You've had enough experience. You seem to be just a kind of a level above all these guys. So Moses Moody was another guy that stood out to me. And I love to see guys in their second year come in. They play 2 games maybe, and they're clearly so far above everybody else that they get shut down. We all want to see guys play for as much as we can. But if it's their second year and they're just clearly a leg up on everybody else and they're going to be firmly in the rotation, then I guess it makes sense to have them take a seat and have somebody else lower on the depth chart step up and take their spot and hopefully get some minutes and get a spot on the roster, get a 2-way deal. Maybe not from that team, but another team can come in and offer them something. So just a few guys. I mean, there's several more. We can talk about Chet. We can get into that. Some guys from New York that asserted themselves, making it to the championship game against the Blazers. But several guys I'm impressed with. But I actually wanted to drop a question on you guys to see what you thought about this. Obviously, I talked about a lot that guys in summer league, sometimes they come in and play 2 games. Like Banchero comes in and plays 2 games and gets sat as a rookie. Mm-hmm. How do you guys feel about some of these guys coming into summer league and the teams are very kind of tentative on how much they play? Do you like that? Do you like that tentative kind of conservative approach with how much they play? Or do you want to see, especially some of these like top picks, play more games, get more experience, maybe see Jalen Green play another year, Cade play another year, as opposed to just playing 1 season as a rookie and then not playing again? Like, how do you guys feel about that?
Go ahead, Nick.
It's tough, honestly, because at the end of the day, especially when you're a GM, when you're part of the front office, your job is to protect that player, especially one of the young guys, especially one of the top lottery picks like Paolo, Keegan Murray, Chet Holmgren. So you want them to be available and be ready for the regular season. So I definitely understand that, but it is also tough at the same time, because as a young guy, like especially as a young player, like Paolo, Chet, and the rest of these guys, like you want to go out there and you want to play no matter what it is, no matter whether it's summer league, whether it's pickup and whatnot. So I think as a competitor, it's like, you want to be out there on the floor, but it's almost like, if you're part of the GM, it's like, like this is our investment. We want to make sure that this guy's 100% ready for the season. It's just tough. It's just tough all around. It's like, I understand it. You definitely want those guys to be healthy, to be ready for the regular season, to be ready for training camp. But it's also tough at the same time, because, you want those guys to be out there in the summer league, to gain that experience and just being able to figure out what it takes to play at a high level.
For sure.
Yeah, it's a team by team basis. I definitely agree with Nick. It's really your cash cow, especially for these top guys, Jalen Green, Cade. We kind of saw enough in the regular season last year. Probably felt like they don't want to bring him in for the summer league and then risk getting hurt. definitely just want to have them. I think it was good that those guys were there in attendance, watching the rookies and some of the young guys that might make the team. But you don't want to risk that. And for Paolo too, I mean, you saw a couple games, you saw he was ready. It was like Mathurin, like you talked about with Mathurin and Moody as well. It's like they're going to be really good. Paolo was phenomenal. He's going to be a bucket. It's going to be tough to guard him just because of his measurables and how he's able to score. So I think it's really team by team basis. Maybe the team they want to get a look on how maybe they've been training since getting drafted or what they've been doing before getting drafted and see if they're able to translate. Even though most of the guys in summer league aren't going to be on the NBA roster, still have to get a good look, and for the coaches as well on the team, understand what you're looking at going forward and see how you can improve and definitely help those guys for the start of the season. So, I just think the team, I'm pretty sure, obviously, they sit down and have these discussions before they come up with the rosters. So I think just team by team basis, and I'm excited. At least we got to see a lot of the guys, though. I mean, usually sometimes in some situations they just shut them down completely, but we saw a good amount of some of these top guys, and I think it was definitely a win for the ESPN and also for the fans.
Because the summer league was almost better than the NBA's regular season. So I mean, obviously it was great.
Oh God!
But no, I think back. Of course, one of my favorite players, being a Kentucky guy, Devin Booker. I even said it before, but boom! I remember his sophomore year. They really wanted him to play in the summer league just so he could have more of a dominant presence to have that growth and see how mature, if he could be that number one guy for their team. In those cases, I think it's totally good to see him play. I'm going to say, quote, more, because technically they didn't play him the whole time, but you did see him play. But then you got guys like, Anthony Edwards that probably didn't really need to prove anything in that sophomore year. So
this guy buys a card every day.
I'll be honest with you. I came home from this vacation and
sophomore.
actually just came home from work, and my wife said, you've got like a package. I'm pretty sure it's cards. It's like, I don't even know when I ordered cards, but I've got some more cards. But that's my thing. I'm with both of them. Like, it's a player by player, team by team. It's really just going to be what do you need to see from that team, from that player, my eyes. If you see that they're able to take control, like to me, honestly, I think Devin Booker was in a proved sophomore year. Like, is this really going to be our guy that can be the number one as a sophomore? We want to see, can he be like that as he gets progressive, older? And I think he was able to prove some of that with the younger guys. Like, okay, he does have that mentality, the Mamba mentality. Now we can maybe do a franchise with him. I do think that's kind of a play in there some. Now, I'm not going to hold a whole accountability on that with the Summer League, but I do think that goes a little bit of play into it as well.
So I want to ask you guys this as far as like the young guys in Summer League. So like which one would you rather do if you were like a coach or a GM? Would you rather have your star player play like only a minimum amount of games and then miss the rest of the summer league, or would you just have him on like a minutes restriction throughout the summer league? Like, say for instance, like how about play like 15 minutes of the first half and then he's done the rest of the evening? Like, what would you guys think about that?
I think it kind of goes on how they play too. I would probably have a set plan already and told him like, hey, you're in the number one pick. This is what we're projecting you to play. Just this one game, 15 minutes, maybe 10 this first half, 10 the second half, maybe just do 20 minutes. But if you're playing hot, playing great, we may go ahead and pull you. Like, this is kind of what we may see. But, if we think you need a little more time, we may leave you out there. But I would definitely go in at least on a transparent as much as I can. Hey, we don't want to play you the whole time because, one, if you're the number one pick, we don't want to lose you because you are a franchise player. But two, we also want to see you play with the guys and be dominant. And because one, if he's good and he's the number one pick, you probably need to let him play some just so us fans can like him too. There's some money that goes into a business part of it as well too. So I personally, as an owner, if I had the number one person on the team, I would go out there and say 15 to 20 minutes going to play you. The rest of the games, we'll see how it goes. But you're not going to play every game for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that for the most part. I'd probably take the Banchero approach. Just as far as like what the Magic did with him, like you play him 2 games and, it's pretty cut and dry. It's like you play 2-3 games and then you're done. I think if you do that, you can kind of solidify a game plan You can just kind of go into that, maybe that fourth game where he's not playing, and just kind of center it around everybody else, so they know what to expect for the whole game. So you're not playing half a game with a top pick and you're off ball and you're the fourth or fifth option, and then the second half is completely different. I think it still comes down a little bit of like a case by case thing, but for the most part, at least for the top picks, I think you play them 2-3 games max, because I mean, if you're out there and you make it to the championship, I mean, you can be playing as many as I think 5 or 6 games. So that's definitely a lot for guys that you want to protect going into the season. You don't want to the Liddell situation where he tears his ACL. It's very unfortunate, but I mean, it's a part of the game. You can't eliminate the risk altogether. But yeah, ultimately, if I'm a GM, if I'm a coach or whatever, I'd probably go into it and just kind of say you're going to play this many games or whatever. But it is tough. I think, Mako, you touched on the perspective of the fans and the networks and the money that's involved. I think it was, I can't remember exactly what game it was, but I think it was Chet versus, I don't know if it was Banchero or someone like that, one of the top picks, but they'd already reached their games limit with their team and they didn't play. So they're marketed as, number 1 pick against number 2 or something like that. And one of them doesn't play. And it's just kind of a disappointing situation. And we see that in the regular season a lot where, you're expecting these 2 stars to play against each other and one of them doesn't. And it kind of takes some of the hype out of the game, so to speak, and really disappoints the fans. I think it can hurt the product a little bit. So I would just like to see these teams be a little bit more transparent with how much these guys are going to play, so you don't get those situations come up. But that's how I'd approach it. I think I'd go a little bit more cut and dry as far as you play this amount of games as opposed to playing like 10 minutes each game. Because with 10, 15 minutes, I mean, can you really get into a consistent rhythm if you're only out there for a few minutes per half or per quarter or something? So that's the way I'd approach it, but it could differ a little bit depending on who the team is and who the player is that they're trying to protect.
Do y'all think the players have like any say in like, their minutes on the floor or the time on the floor, or is it really just, the coaches and the front office?
Yeah, the latter.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say the latter on that, especially the younger guys.
I would say rookies definitely. Sophomores maybe a little bit more negotiable, I guess.
Yeah, just like you guys said, a game or 2, as long as you're transparent with the player, you let them know, what's going on. This is how, we're going to move in this summer league. I agree as well. I mean, with your point about potentially seeing guys sitting down, going to Vegas summer league, it's an opportunity for people that aren't necessarily able to afford, these regular season tickets, and they get to see some of these young guys. So when you have a situation where these guys sit out at last minute and you're expecting to see, Banchero versus Holmgren, you're a little disappointed. So I think the NBA, the teams, and then also, the broadcasters as well, and the networks be a little bit more transparent on that. But, Pop's been doing that forever, and we know the load management situation, so they don't care too much about that. But I want to transition to a team, the Lakers, Los Angeles Lakers. They've just a lot of stories surrounding them. Aaron, you talked about it a little bit, and the summer league with Russ and LeBron sitting on each side of the court. So dramatic between both of those guys during that game. What's your thoughts on everything that's been transpired? It's been reported by Chris Haynes that they had a talk between LeBron, Anthony Davis, and Russ, had a little discussion on the phone to reconcile and kind of come together and talk about what's going to happen going forward if they are all 3 together at the start of the season. We know Russ just parted ways with his agent of 14 years, moving on from him and deciding to look elsewhere for the rest of his career. So what's your thoughts on this Lakers situation, and how do you see it playing out?
Look, first of all, they can talk all they want. They can have they can have the closed locker room talks, whatever, players only meetings. They can kumbaya, they can go out to dinner. I don't care. But those 3 together with Westbrook, I mean, it's just, I don't see any way it works. The only way they get back to contender status is if they make a deal, get Westbrook out of there, they make a trade. But here's where they really shot themselves in the foot. I think they were good, and I've said this 1,000 times, until they made that trade for Westbrook. They, lost a lot of their leverage. They lost a lot of flexibility. They don't have many trade chips left. I think the only way they get the Buddy Hield or Miles Turner or whoever they're going after in these deals is to give up 2 first-round picks. I mean, that's how it goes. If you have a negative value contract like a John Wall or a Westbrook or something like that, you have to give some kind of incentive for that team to pick them up, even on an expiring contract. Because like Westbrook has 1 year left, but a team like Indiana, it's like, well, we'll take him off your hands, but that first rounder is not enough. We're going to need 2, and then you're mortgaging your future already even more than you have already. So you're just kind of painting it into a corner. So I'm just really down the Lakers. I don't think they have many options. I think that's pretty much their only course of action left is to kind of sell off those last picks they have left, retool the roster. But even then, I'm really skeptical on if they can make a deep run because I just don't trust Davis to be healthy for the long run. Braun is getting older. I think his longevity, his ability to stay healthy over an entire season is dwindling because over the past 3 seasons, we've seen him miss 15, 20 games pretty consistently with an ankle roll or something like that, a groin strain. So I just don't think you can have your 2 pillars of your organization when you're that top heavy miss that many games to be competitive. So, for all the Lakers fans, it sounds like a lot of doom and gloom, but I mean, this really is kind of the reality of it. I think a lot of things have to go right just for them to have a chance at a championship run. But with that being said, they can still be competitive. They can still fight for a top 5 or 6 seed in the West. They can be a lot better than they were last year. But I think the first step towards contention again is moving off of Westbrook, and I just don't see that as a possibility unless they really just kind of empty the chest and just give the Pacers or whatever team just everything they have left. It's really unfortunate.
I want to piggyback that a little bit because, that's the trade we're kind of hearing right now. I was listening to a podcast. I want to say maybe it was JJ Redick was talking about how the Pacers are that trade that's going on that is dead at the moment. He kind of put parentheses or whatever, quotation marks around the dead at the moment because we're still waiting to try to figure out if Kyrie is going to be traded. I feel like that's the plan A is Kyrie going to LA first. Like that's kind of been stopped too. So we kind of feel like KD and Kyrie will still be a net next year. But it's almost like this Pacer trade is, okay, we're done right now. We're going to transition back over here, try to see if we can get Kyrie over. But I agree with you. Oh, nice. They were talking about how Miles Turner only had, I think, 1 more year left, and they were worried about maybe Turner and AD play together. It would be a no-fly zone at the rim, but yet would Anthony Davis play the 5 or the 4? Turner can shoot the 3 a little bit, but he has been traded everywhere he shoots the 3. So, I mean, it sounds good as far as who you're getting, but a lot of the X's and O's and the salaries they're talking about. What's that, Nick?
No, I'm laughing. I'm laughing at the picture right here. The Pacers just basically said, "Hell no" to this.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
in a first round. But they're talking about they'll probably have to give up a second first round pick on that too. So it's almost like they've said pause and no to this at the moment. But if they can't get Kyrie, they might have to come back and address this and try to figure out something to make at least something of getting rid of Westbrook here. But I don't know. If you're the Pacers, are you even really interested in this?
He's on an expiring deal.
That's the thing, yeah.
47 mil is obviously it's a lot of money, and
depends. But the Lakers will be paying it, right?
Portion of it, probably. Aaron, you probably know better than us when it comes to the cap situation, but I think if Russell does stay, it's about sacrifice. That's the key word with the Lakers this season. Is Russ going to be willing to sacrifice and be a third option? Last year, wasn't able to do so. Can't really space the floor. Not a great free throw shooter. Hasn't declined as a finisher around the rim. And those are the things that he excelled at when he was in his prime, and he still had elite athleticism. He's going to have to defend. I think Darvin Ham talked about that a little bit. In his press conference, he said he spoke with Russ a multitude of times. As soon as he got hired on what he expects of Westbrook if this trio does stay together. But as the season begins, and he has to be that third guy. He has to do the little things. We don't need him to go out and get 25, 20, 20, and 20 like he did in Oklahoma City or some of the numbers that he put up with the Wizards. He needs to be third option. Sometimes guard the opposing team's best guard, best perimeter player. Can he do that? I think he can. I think he still has elite athleticism. It's just, again, what's his mindset? What's going to be his mindset? If it's going to be I'm gonna just do what I want to do and do what I've been doing for the last 14 years. I don't know if that's going to be the formula for the Lakers to have the success that they want moving forward. I look at this trade. It doesn't really favor anyone. All the Pacers just want the first round pick. They don't really care about Westbrook. They just care about the pick. That's why they probably want a second. They want the 2029 pick as well. With that pick, and the Nets also wanted that as well. When you talk about Kyrie and Westbrook being a potential swap, these teams just want the picks. They don't really care about Russ and going forward. Push come to shove, they could buy him out. So they just want those future picks. If I'm Jeannie Buss and I'm the Lakers, I'm Rob Pelinka. I mean, I would try to hold on to those picks. You just never know what's going to happen with AD. You never know what's going to happen with LeBron. Aaron talked about it. LeBron's been hurt 2 of the last 4 years that he's been a Laker. Now, it hasn't been, major injuries, but it's been knick-knack injuries where he's missed some games and it potentially hurt their seeding. Look at a few years ago when they were in the play-in game, going up against the Suns, and even last year as well with AD getting hurt. AD as well. I mean, by this time we thought he was going to be the best player on the team. He already had the championship. He was supposed to make that ascension to be the guy, elite two-way player, be in the MVP discussion for the for the rest of his career. Haven't really seen it. He's digressed as well. Free throw shooting, 3-point shooting. So it's really just a mindset with those two guys. I mean, I just look at those guys, and LeBron, he's going to continue to do what he does. It's crazy that he's still playing at this level, averaging 30 in year 19. It's crazy. We've never seen anything like this. We can't take this for granted. And I think Russ and AD shouldn't take this for granted because you're playing with one of the greatest of all time. And I look at their roster now. They picked up Lonnie Walker, JTA, Damon Jones, quality. Yeah, exactly. Solid role players. Nothing, to bring you to like a elite level status. But I bet they're just banking on their main guys being healthy, and then just those guys filling in every once in a while and making plays. I like Reeves. I think he could step up in year 2 and be a solid guy for them, knocking down shots, being an okay defender on the perimeter. So, when I look at the West, it's always been competitive. So, that's not a shock there. It's been competitive our entire lives. So, but they got 2 of the most talented guys in the conference. So they're always going to be in the discussion to win, but it's just going to come down to mindset. And if those guys truly want to buy in, the sky's the limit. But if not, we're going to see a similar season to what we've seen the last 2 years.
Do you guys know how many points LeBron needs to average this next season to pass Kareem in all-time scoring?
I think it's like 16, something like that.
16.7, I believe.
Okay.
I just saw it a few minutes ago. That's just insane to me. I just can't believe he's doing this, and he's in a position to do this. I didn't really think it would be a record we see broken, but I think once he does that, it's going to be untouchable because no one's staying healthy as much as he has in his career. I think that's just kind of putting it out of reach for everybody else that comes behind him, but that's just me.
Completely agree. I remember people say KD was going to reach it. I don't see it.
No.
I don't see it, man. The way this man is still playing right now and entering year 20, it's going to be tough to break for sure. Nick, what's your thoughts on everything that's going on in LA?
I honestly don't know. I mean, just looking at the whole trajectory of this team, basically, you basically touched on it, CJ. Like, with the way that the West is, it's like, like what is the ceiling of this Lakers team? Like, do we expect them to be as good as obviously Golden State? Phoenix is going to be back. I think Dallas is going to be in that same position. Denver, even the Clippers. Honestly, I think that signing of John Wall is really impressive, and they're going to be back as well with the healthy Kawhi and Paul George. So, like, what is really the ceiling of this Laker team? Because, obviously, if they do keep Russ is definitely going to have to make a sacrifice. There's no question about that. Are we banking on Braun to average 27 to 30 points a game in year 20? And the thing that frustrates me the most is, like, even when AD was healthy throughout the course of this year, is like, you could tell he was really tentative. He didn't play at 100%. But basically, AD didn't play at the level that he did that first year when the Lakers won the championship. So we're going to have to see that version of AD, honestly, if the Lakers are going to be like at least top 5 or 6, at least in the West. But just in my opinion, I don't really have no high hopes for this team, honestly. I know they still have LeBron. I know that they still have Russ and AD, but just looking at how last year was, I know they got a new coach, so they're definitely going to have a new system implemented in the team. But I just don't have any high hopes for them.
Let me ask this quick question on this subject here, just real quick. Is play-in game the limit for them this year with this roster? Like, if they get above the play-in, is it a good year for them?
I think they should be. I mean, they're not going to be. They're of course their mindset is championship. If anything else than a championship, the team is going to be very disappointed. But I think from our point of view, if they were to make the playoffs and they have a competitive round one, I mean, I think even that, considering their circumstances, is pretty good. But I mean, this is still LeBron and AD. I mean, they can still make some noise. I think they're just completely out of the title race, but they can still be a competitive team. They have a lot of firepower. It's just some things like as far as their defense, as far as their overall effort level, that has to improve to really make a run. I don't see it. I don't want to expect it, but I would say their absolute best case scenario is probably second round exit. That's just initial reaction.
I think they just want to get healthy. Get healthy. All their guys, their key guys, they get healthy when they get to the dance. We've seen LeBron be the fourth seed, fifth seed, still make a run at the finals a long time ago. And I know it's in a different conference, so obviously that context matters. But LeBron, I mean, they were up 2-1 against the Suns before AD injured his groin, and that's where it went downhill from there. So I had picked them to beat the Suns in that series if they were going to stay healthy. But
I agree.
But it's all Drummond's fault, man. The Drummond curse.
Yeah, the Drummond curse.
He did that, that whatever he was. Like,
yeah, on the bench.
Yeah, he sold it. And he sold it for the Nets too when he did that against Miami. Yeah.
Don't sign Drummond, bro.
Chicago got him, so good luck. Good luck. But yeah, I think just stay healthy with the Lakers, and I mean, it's gonna be tough for me to go against a team beating LeBron and AD 4 times in a series, because that's what it's gonna come down to. All those guys are healthy. Can you beat LeBron and AD with the proper mindset Westbrook 4 times in a series? I don't care what team is you put in front of them. That's a tall task. Right. It's not going to be a cakewalk, So I think for them, just stay healthy, get to the dance, and then we'll see what happens. It's tough for me to bet against LeBron just because of everything we've seen throughout the course of his career. When his back's against the wall, so just stay healthy. I think is the key thing for them.
How do y'all feel?
I'm with you too, but I'm saying, do you think they get into the second round because of the play-in, or do you think they're going to be 1 through?
I think it's tough. It's tough to say so early. I think matchups matter. It's kind of like right. Fighting. Like boxing. Like if you go up against a certain style, you probably your favorite. To me, if they go up against a team like Minnesota or something like that, I think that's a fun series. That's a great series. Clippers. I just feel like it depends on who they go up against. I think they need to focus on the regular season a little bit, because you want to make sure you go up against a team when the time is right. Come April, okay, this is a team we're confident in, and advancing. Like Aaron said, potentially getting past that first round, and then second round, who knows what could happen. So I think it's tough for me to say right now where they stand. To me, they look like a play-in team. 7, 8 maybe, because we know, again, LeBron and AD. He's at an age where seeding doesn't matter too much. When it comes to LeBron, just make sure you get healthy at the end. So that's where I see them right now. Top 3, top. I don't see that. I don't see that for the Lakers, just because they're still an older team.
Agreed.
What about you, Nick?
I wanted to ask y'all this real quick, because when this happened, I was kind of upset by it a little bit. Like, how do you guys think the loss of Malik Monk will possibly impact the Lakers? Because, in my opinion, he was practically their third best player when AD was healthy. It was LeBron, AD, and then I think Malik Monk. Obviously, providing a lot of offense. So, how do you guys feel like the loss of him will impact this team? Because I know they got guys like Lonnie Walker and other guys, but how do you guys feel like his loss is going to be for the Lakers?
Well, I'm going to be biased because he played at Kentucky, so it's going to be detrimental for him. I actually think he had a great year last year. Was one of their better shooting options for them. I was really surprised that they even let him go. But shooters can be replaced. a little. So I mean, I understand that. I don't know. I mean, they think they know what they're doing. So I mean, okay, but I feel like Monk was a good guy that. Okay, let me just back up a little bit. Monk, to me, is a guy who can actually excel in a LA atmosphere. Like when he's at Kentucky playing, like he loved all the attention. If he is having a bad game, he is still smiling, eating it up, saying, hey, like they're coming at me because I'm so great. You say I'm bad, but I'm still great. So, I mean, I felt like he was going to excel in the LA atmosphere there. So I wish they would have kept him. And that's me hating with LeBron, saying that I wish Monk would have been there. So.
They're probably hoping Lonnie Walker becomes that a little bit. He's a streaky guy. He's not as good of a shooter as Monk was. I think Monk went for the money, and also he went to go play with his guy. Like you said, it's Kentucky guy. Him and De'Aaron Fox have a great relationship. Probably going to get some more opportunities in Sacramento. They don't have DiVincenzo. They got rid of Hill. They got rid of Halliburton. So the guards isn't as heavy as it used to be in years past. So in Mike Brown's system, as we hope, it won't be like Golden State, but it should be more of a pass heavy, free flowing type offense where a lot of guys get the basketball and there's spacing involved. So I think Sacramento is a better fit for him. And for the Lakers' sake, yeah, you got to hope Reeves fills in, get you around 10, 11. Lonnie Walker as well. Those guys, maybe JTA could, this is an opportunity for him. He was kind of just sitting on the bench, got garbage time minutes in Golden State. Maybe he could come in with the Lakers now and have an opportunity. He's going to have to knock down shots. Playing with LeBron, you got to be able to spot up and knock down shots. So if I'm him, that's all I'm working on all season. And if those shots are going in, Ham is going to keep him out there. So I think those three guys right there are going to have to step up and really fill the void of a Malik Monk.
Yeah, Lonnie, I mean, he's obviously a weaker shooter than Malik. Lonnie only shot about 31%, as where Malik was closer to 40. He was at just over 39%. But, if we look at a small sample, I know this is a small sample, but, about 13 games between February and March, Lonnie was at 18 points a game, and he was shooting about 38% from three. That was when he had that really strong stretch in the season. He got more minutes. In those games, he was playing 27 minutes a game. So he was at starter minutes during that stretch in San Antonio. So I think Lonnie has the potential to replace a lot of what Malik brought to the table. I still think Malik is I'm not going to say it's a devastating loss for him. I think it's definitely a downgrade kind of on paper. Mm-hmm. But I think Lonnie has the potential to fill that void. It's all about how consistent is that shooting. Because he's just as athletic as Malik. He could jump out the gym too. I think he has a higher ceiling as far as like his defensive capabilities go. He's a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, so he can have an impact as far as defensively, which I think that's where the Lakers are trying to compensate a little bit on that end of the floor. So I think if he can be an approximation of what Malik brought as far as like shooting the ball, like long range, and maybe getting to the rim and creating points like that in transition, then I think it could be a great pickup for him and, kind of soften the blow of the Malik loss a lot. Of course, it could be the opposite. He could be a very streaky shooter, be low 30s, and just cramp the spacing even more. I'm curious to see how much he plays with Westbrook because having the two of them on the perimeter, plus if you have AD out there, I think people are respecting AD less and less from three ever since the 2020 season. So I think it's all about how Lonnie responds from last season. Can he carry that over, or is he just going to be up and down? And I think if he is up and down, I think Reeves is going to take a lot of his minutes because Reeves is more of a consistent guy. You know what you're going to get from him every night. But I think it's a wait and see. I think it can be anywhere from they don't feel the loss at all from Malik, or it can be they feel it quite a bit because Lonnie just is so streaky and he just doesn't have that confidence that he gained between February and March of last season. So it's kind of a wait and see, but it might not end up being a huge deal for them to lose Malik for what they got Lonnie for, which was the mid-level exception. Really not too bad.
All right, yeah.
What do y'all think of Reeves' new nickname they're going with?
I saw like four thrown out there.
Last I heard was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Oh, wow.
I don't know who. Somebody said Hillbilly Kobe. I've never heard of that.
I heard that too.
That's wild. Did somebody say like the the Slim Reaver or something like that. I can't remember.
Yeah,
Something like that is.
I'm gonna call that man Austin Reeves, bro.
I'm calling him Austin. I'm calling him the same
Or
thing.
something. That's good enough.
Yeah, he's solid guy, but I gotta see more before we start throwing nicknames at the guy.
Exactly.
That's fair.
Well, see, he was going by AR-15.
Yeah,
But of course,
fine.
That's not bad.
Yeah,
it was cool, but the way the world is, so it's gotta switch that.
My thing is that
shooter,
I don't.
right?
He is a shooter, but my whole thing is that I don't like bringing race into this, but it's like I don't know why the media is like so like in love with like these these white role players, like Alex Caruso was kind of the same way. Yeah, like what I'm saying, he was like it's just crazy to me.
It's the Lakers. Anybody on the Lakers that blows up, they're gonna get a lot more attention than if they
I don't
were
know.
the
You got the unicorn. I always thought that was weird. Like, why the big unicorn? Like it was.
Oh, for Porzingis?
Yeah, I always thought that was so weird. Like, why is he getting the nickname the unicorn? I mean,
I think they gave him to Chet now, aren't they?
The what?
I think they gave him to Chet now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're trying to give it to the Chet, man. Just like I said, I'm calling these guys by what their parents named them, man. I ain't.
Government name.
That's what we're going with.
Yeah,
unless we nickname ourselves,
I'm good, but I want to transition now to the Philadelphia 76ers. James Harden just signed a new deal with the Sixers. We know his relationship with Daryl Morey from the time in Houston. Last year came there via trade with the Ben Simmons trade in February. In a solid month and a half or so when he was in Philly. Joel gets hurt in the Toronto series. They go down 0-2 against Miami. They come back, tie it up, and then they fold. The Harden is known for doing. But he signs. He takes less money, and they bring in PJ Tucker, from Miami. Bring in Daniel House. Bringing some other guys as well. That's we joked up in the last offseason pod. We said the Philly Rockets. That's what we were calling them. Yeah. And they kind of get the band back together. I'll start with Nick, and then we go Michael, and finish up with Aaron. What's your thoughts on Harden taking less money, signing the deal, and where do you see the Sixers in this Eastern Conference? I think it's a lot of parity. I don't think it's one clear cut favorite in that conference. So where do you see Philly?
I actually like the deal, honestly. But I'm going to be honest. I expect James Harden to have a good year. I know a lot of people are kind of hating on him and everything, and I know that he played bad in that Miami series. But I guess what my scenario is that, with Harden basically being that primary playmaker, he doesn't really have to focus on scoring. In my opinion, he'll probably be the third option behind Embiid and possibly Tyrese Maxey. So with that being said, is all Harden has to do is just really focus on the playmaking, getting other guys involved. So if he can do that and then, not have that pressure to really carry the load offensively, I think that's the role that he can play in now at this stage in his career. We know all the injuries that have really affected him recently. Obviously the hamstring is that lingering injury that's been bad for him, but with the position that he's in Philly, I feel like he can still have a pretty good season coming up.
Are we just on Harden? Like, what do we expect? I think it's great that he took a cut. I do see Corey saying here that maybe can adding up next season, but I think it actually shows that he's caring more about the team, and that's probably something that I've always hung over him, that I didn't think he was more of a team player, really. One episode I was watching today actually was with Draymond Green. They were talking about with James Harden back when they was playing them against the Rockets, when the Rockets should have beat them with Chris Paul before he got hurt. But they said that their actually whole scheme on defense was to let James Harden do everything that he wanted to do, because he would dribble estimate like 32 times a possession, or 32 times the shot clock, we'll say that. And they said that by the end of the fourth quarter, he would be so tired that he couldn't hardly do anything. And if you look back on the tapes, most of those games, they were up by 10 to 15 points every game, but then James Harden would almost lose his steam by the end of the quarter or end of the game, and they would lose. Or he would be a no-show by game 7. So I hope he's learning, as he's maturing here, that he needs to take, I won't say a back seat, but deviate the ball a little bit more instead of trying to be one-person show. I mean, you've got Embiid down there. You've got Maxey. I would like to see him almost play like he did with KD and Kyrie, where he was more a facilitator with this team. So I'm going to actually say with Tucker on this team, who's defensive minded, great corner shot, 3-point shot, that this team could be a top contender for the East this year. I don't want to put all my marbles on that. I'm going to say probably 3 or 4 in the East, but I can see them making a good run in the playoffs now.
So what's your 5 in the East? Top 5 or top 6?
I knew you was going to do this. My top 6 in the East. I mean, of course, I'm going to have Miami at number 1.
I knew you were going to say them first. I just knew it.
Got to.
Has to be, right? Miami 1. Well, see, you can't really rank them as of right now.
No rank. Just
it's all good, man.
No order specifically,
right? Because we don't know what Brooklyn's going to be either. Like, I mean, is it going to be KD and Kyrie? But I mean, technically, you kind of got to put them in there if they have Simmons with that 3 trio. That's going to be a top 1 or 2 there. So I'm going to say Miami, Bucks, 76ers, Brooklyn, of course. Who am I forgetting?
Boston.
You say Boston, right?
Oh yeah, Boston, of course, in that too. Who played great. So yeah, I mean, there's a top 5 right there easily. I don't think I won't say I'm a hater, but I just don't have hope, I guess, in Atlanta yet. I know they made some trades and different things going on here, but I just. Oh yeah, Corey. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not bringing in these comments. Corey's a big Bucks fan, but I just don't think they're going to be number 1, especially if we do have the Nets with everyone full. So Miami Bucks, there's my 5. I'll just leave it at that, and I won't get long-winded on that. What about you guys?
Yeah, Aaron, go ahead, bro.
Man, that's tough. If we're talking about a top 6, definitely got to have Philly in there, Brooklyn, Miami, Boston, obviously, Milwaukee. That 6th spot, I think, is where it gets interesting. I think Atlanta could be at least 6. I think, with that DeJounte Murray trade, that gives them fills in one of their biggest weaknesses was the defense. And then they also get another option to play off a Trey. There's going to be a learning curve with that, but I think if they can figure it out, then, I mean, I think they killed 2 birds with 1 stone with that trade as far as offensively, because DeJounte got a taste of playing more on ball and being more of a primary shot creator last year. So he has that experience. So you pair that with his all defensive capabilities, you can shield Trey a little bit more. So he's not getting, just hounded, as far as like trying to defend guys. I think that can put them in the mix. I think with DeAndre Hunter has a healthier season this time around. They have another good perimeter defender. I think they're getting to round out that roster in a good way. So I want to put them in the top 6 for sure. Specifically when it comes to the Harden deal, I'm really impressed by it because, like Michael was saying, it kind of shows his, commitment to the team specifically. Taking a pay cut. I mean, $14-15 million is not a small amount of money. That's not pocket change. But the big thing about that was the fact that by taking that pay cut, it put them far enough under the tax that it opened up the full mid-level, and that's how they got PJ Tucker. So if he doesn't do that, there's a chance that they don't get PJ Tucker because Miami probably, I'm thinking if the Sixers didn't have that money, that PJ would have re-signed with Miami. Because I think that's what kind of swayed him. I don't think anybody else was going to offer him $10 million over 3 years. I think that's what kind of pushed them over the top. So by Harden doing this, I think they got PJ. And by doing that, you weakened an opponent, in-conference opponent. Because as of today, they haven't filled the void that PJ has left going to the Sixers. So you kind of did it not only to bolster your roster, but to weaken an opponent, not a starting 4 that they no longer have on their team. So I think that puts the Sixers a little bit above the Heat. I think that puts them in the top, honestly, maybe top 3. When you pair that with the Daniel House signing, that was a big time deal too. With Harden recommitting to the team, it looks like he wants to get back into proper shape and be having a bigger impact than he did last season. The sky's the limit for them. So that's my top 6, and I'm super impressed by the Harden deal. And just keep in mind that the Sixers only have about $3 million left to play with, because when you use the mid-level exception or you use the biannual, and they used both, then you activate that hard cap, which is $6 million over the tax line. So at 156, they can't go past that for any reason. So if they want to sign somebody, they're going to have to keep to the minimums or whatever because they can't go over that $156 million line. But as of today, they have a nice roster. They stayed under the line. And respect to Harden, because that's not an easy thing to do, taking a pay cut like that. That's respect right there.
Yeah, I definitely salute them. Again, it's the same thing with Westbrook. It's like, what do you want the end of your career to look like? What do you want your story to be? The beginning of their career is so dynamic, what they've done, MVPs, put up a bunch of stats, broke so many records. And then there's the but after that. What have they done in the playoffs?
Was you talking about LeBron or Westbrook there? I'm sorry.
Nah, definitely Russ and Harden. That's the thing that they haven't been able to do in the playoffs. They've teamed up with multiple Hall of Famers over the course of their career, and every time the postseason comes around, they just aren't able to get over the hump. And for Harden, this is prime opportunity to play with one of the best players in the NBA, Joel Embiid, going to be an MVP candidate for the rest of his career. I picked him to win MVP. I understand people picking Jokic, but I thought Embiid did it from the beginning of the season without Ben to when it got Harden. He still played at a high level, but I think he'll definitely get one soon. But for Harden, yeah, it's what do you a championship for Harden? I mean, we talk about him completely differently if he gets that chip. So if he's able to do that, and again in a conference that has a lot of parity, it's not a clear cut favorite like it's used to, like we were accustomed to seeing back when Brown was back in the Eastern Conference. Saw the Bucks just go there. We just saw the Celtics this year. Anybody could get there. Anybody could get there. It's a multitude of talent with those teams everybody just mentioned, and I agree. I think Harden should definitely kind of play that point guard role. He's getting up there in age. And also, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt too. He wasn't healthy with the hamstring. Seemed to have been dealing with that over the last 2 years or so, ever since that Brooklyn series. He seems to be healthy, looking at some pictures, seems to be in shape and ready to go for this season. And also, lastly, Doc Rivers. I mean, this guy hasn't been out the second round.
I was just about to mention him.
Yeah, he hasn't been out the second round since he was the coach of the Celtics. So it's a long time ago. Yep. So it's a lot of pressure on these guys to get it done and produce. But I think they have a quality team to do so, and we'll see what happens going forward. But Harden has to be that catalyst, and then also looking forward to seeing what Maxey does in year 3, taking that next step and kind of being possibly that second scoring option behind Joel Embiid. All right, let's transition to, unfortunately, the Knicks. Donovan Mitchell talks.
I know you're ready for this, man.
It's getting spicy in here.
Yeah.
I can't even be on Twitter now because if it just everybody brings up Donovan Mitchell going to the Knicks just for the clicks. Apparently there was a deal in place a couple days ago. Knicks for clicks. Yes, it's alive and well.
So hang on real quick, CJ. I want to ask you, is around 5, 6, 7 first round picks from the Knicks worth getting for Donovan Mitchell?
In my opinion, no. I'm gonna pull up the image shortly, but Jazz put an offer out there. It was 3. It was quickly Toppin, Grimes, McBride, and I think 6 first round picks for Donovan Mitchell.
He's not LeBron. He's not KD. Like, I don't know why people are thinking that he's worth all these picks. TJ, you, how many picks you throwing in a package like that? How many picks, pick swaps? How would you range that?
Man, I'm saying 4, maybe. I mean, I just feel like the Gobert trade really messed it up. It really messed it up for a team like the Knicks, because Minnesota, they just they sold so high. And I mean, I don't know, man, God only knows what the offer was before they signed off on the deal that they actually had. It was probably like 8, and they were like,
you want all of them.
Yeah,
all of them
for the next decade.
Let's get all your picks, till the end of time for Gobert.
What if that was their first option? That was their first bid.
Looking at what
5 picks.
Yeah, looking at what age. It's wild, but I just again, he's a great player, great scorer. He's in his prime, about to turn 26 years old, dynamic scorer, little inconsistent at times. Didn't have the best postseason this year. Obviously, that bubble season when he averaged like 37 in the first round, he went crazy. Him and Gobert, we all four of us know that that was going to come to an end. It was going to be one or two of those guys that were going to end up getting shipped out. But yeah, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up 7 first round picks for Donovan Mitchell. Personally, as a Knicks fan, it's like, if we don't get him, cool. If we do, great. But I just feel like it needs to be the right deal. It needs to be the right situation. You don't want to get fleeced by Danny Ainge. He's already fleeced Minnesota. He already fleeced Bobby Marks back in 2013 in that Nets deal with the Celtics, and the guys that those guys turned out to be, and those picks. So I'm staying patient with it. I think they have some solid young guys that I wish Tom Thibodeau would play, but those guys only getting about 3 minutes a quarter, so it's tough to really tell what those young guys are going to be because you got a stubborn head coach. So for me, it's just like play the guys that you have, develop them. They're cheaper. you still have everything. You're still flexible. Push comes to shove. If something else presents itself. If a player is like, what I want out, we see this all the time. This is the new NBA. Players going to get unhappy. They're going to come out and say, I don't want to play here. And you're setting yourself up for a potential spot where you could get another guy in a much better deal than giving up potentially 9 players for 1 player. It's ridiculous. So I wouldn't do that.
So what if number 30 was a part of that deal? Say yes.
I mean, again, it's like to me it's not even about the play. It's about the picks. It's like seven.
That's true.
Seven first round picks, and I know they have 11 over the next few years or so. So of course, all of those picks wouldn't be the Knicks picks. They have some picks. They have the Dallas pick, the 2023 Dallas pick. They collected some picks in the draft when they moved back in with the 11th pick. So they have flexibility. The options aren't there. It's not like they're giving their entire future to Utah, but. I just stay patient. I'm glad Leon Rose, Worldwide West, those guys, they didn't just automatically pull the trigger right away. They got Jalen Brunson. Let's see where the team could go with a point guard. Let's see if Randall could get somewhat to where he was 2 years ago with a more productive point guard and see what happens. And then after next season, then you could probably make a move. So I'm not pressuring for Mitchell. A lot of Knicks fans, they're fiending for a star. They traded the farm for Melo, and we saw how that worked out. And it only resulted into one second round appearance, getting bounced out in the second round throughout the entire time Melo was there. So yeah, I'll just stay patient. I think they're doing a great job of developing the young guys and just keep with the guy right now. What's your guys' thoughts on this Knicks Donovan Mitchell fiasco?
I'm kind of where you were at, man. I've been going back and forth with people about Mitchell's value in a trade. And yeah, I just don't think he's worth 6-7 first round picks. Because if we go back, and I've seen these comments by Corey, he's dropping the trade value. I'm going back to the Paul George trade, and we're going back to the Anthony Davis trade and all these other trades. And those are 5 first round picks. There's pick swaps and stuff, but if that's the bar, it's like, why is Mitchell 6 and 7? I don't understand. The math is not adding up there. So, that's why I get at 4. I get 4 pick swaps, a few good players with high upside. I mean, we've seen in limited samples that Toppin and Quickly can be very good players. They just don't play that much, like you're saying, CJ, with Thibodeau as a coach. You're not going to play more than maybe 20 minutes a game or something. But if that 15, 18, something like that, and it changes. But obviously, they're very, very talented players. I think given the right opportunity, Cam Reddish, I'm still a huge fan of Cam Reddish. He just doesn't get the opportunities that I think he should get. But yeah, I mean, we're looking at 6 first round picks. So I'm like, this is not a tier 1 player. Is he a tier 2 player? Because tier 2 is like Jimmy Butler, right? Guys like
Paul
that.
George, right?
Maybe Paul George and maybe Towns or something like that. I don't even think he's tier 2. So if he's 2.5, 3, he's definitely not worth 6 first round picks. Probably not even 5. So that's where I get 4, and then pick swaps, and then several promising players. I think is a fair return. But it's like everything else in this world right now. Everything else is getting inflated. It's like inflation has hit the NBA. what used to be able to buy with 5 first-round picks now costs you 7, and what used to cost 3 now costs 5, and stuff like that. And it's like you guys are saying, it's like the Gobert trade just warped the market. So for me, it's just like, I don't know. It's just things are so out of proportion right now that it's like hard to make sense of like what's fair and what's not. But I know for sure that anything more than 4, like even 5 is stretched for me. But I think over 4 is really just not adequate value for a guy like that. Because like, do you guys think that Mitchell as your number 1 option can win you a championship?
Nope. We just saw it in Utah.
Nope.
There you go.
We just saw it in Utah. Yeah, but you know, for me,
all that.
yeah, exactly. And even if he were to pull up to New York, I didn't expect him to be a number 1 option. We already saw it in Utah for 5 years. So, and Randall's not a number 1 option. RJ's not a number 1 option. So it's just a bunch of.
You don't think RJ can be a number 1 option? I personally think he can.
I have to see more, bro. I have to see.
Maybe not now. I don't think right now.
He's young. He's on a team with a ball dominant power forward.
That's what I'm saying. Like maybe with the right team, he possibly could.
He could, but he also has to improve. To be a number 1 option for me, you got to make free throws, and he's not. He's 70-something percent. That's to me, that's not good enough to be because you got to close. If you have to close games.
That's true.
Exactly. If you're going to be a number 1 guy, you got to be able to close games, and I just don't see that. I just don't see that yet. But Corey saying Mitchell and Booker in the same place. I mean, yeah.
As far as rankings,
I would say so. I would say so.
I think I have Booker slightly above Mitchell.
That's what I'm saying. Like I think Booker's just like slightly better.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's how I kind of feel in this whole situation.
To me, they're both tier 3.
I've been trying to buy a card of Mitchell's because I think he's going to get out and he's going to excel big time.
That's because you got a crush on him too.
No. I mean that he's a little patchy.
He's one of the most handsome players in the NBA.
You see that little gap he's got right there in the beard. You know, I mean, I just don't do it. But
he's not a tier 1 handsome player. He's tier 2.
Tier 2. So I mean, that's only 3 draft picks. But no, for real, I just feel like he's the kind of player that can be dominant and be a number 1 option for a team. It's just the Jazz look at their number 2 option. Like, I mean, who are you going to say was their number 2 option? Gobert. I mean, he's more of a defensive guy. Like, I mean, yeah, he can bully ball someone on the post, but that's not really how the NBA is. So I think if he can get on a team that is a fast-paced, got some wings that he can kick it out to, spread open that middle in the paint a lot, we're going to see Mitchell taking off a lot more, me personally. So I do think that he's going to be a much better player wherever he gets traded to. I feel like his cards would be dirt cheap right now because nobody even cares about Utah. So why not get that card where it's cheap? But I can't ever find a good one to make a deal on. So I actually think he'll end up in Miami. Who would have thought? But wherever he goes, I think it's going to be great for his value in
Booker or Mitchell?
Mitchell.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, Mitchell in Miami. That's of course that's a great spot, and I feel like Miami they could use that second perimeter scoring option. Ben.
So who are they trading though? Like who are they trading? Hero.
Hero.
The trade part. I'm just saying that I think that Mitchell is a great player and can be a 1 option. Batman is not the greatest person if Robin is not a good number 2.
We've only seen 1 guard in the last
like 20
years or so be the number 1 option, and that's Curry. Under 6'5".
Right.
Okay.
Under 6'5".
I'm totally with you, but I do feel like y'all are, I don't know, having a little beef with him here, saying that he can't be the number 1 option because his number 1 option that we've seen, in my opinion anyways, with the Jazz is almost like he's the number 1, 2, and possibly 3 options for offense. And yeah, I'm being a little extreme there. But Utah, they've had a great fluid offense as a team, but they don't really have anyone that can just take over or close out a game other than Mitchell. So, I mean, if it's 2 points left to go or 8 seconds left to go in the game, you're down or your team's up by 2 playing Utah, all your focus is going to be on Mitchell as far as stopping him, and you're not really worried too much. Like, you want their second best player, we're talking about Gobert, to have it to try to score, right? So, I mean,
yeah.
I feel like that's going to be one thing. When he can get somewhere where his Robin, his number 2, may be someone better than what he's had in Utah, that we're going to see him flourish.
I can see what you're saying with that. I could agree with that.
Yeah, you can, because knowledge dropping right here, man. I'm calling it.
I don't think it would be that much improved in New York, because I honestly think that as far as like his supporting cast, like, yeah, individually they weren't like the highest tier players, but I just think they all fit perfectly together, because they had the number 1 offense, I believe. If it wasn't last year, they were pretty close. And then as far as the 3-point shooting, they were tops in the league. In New York, it's the opposite. I mean, you're playing with RJ, you're playing with Mitchell Robinson, you're playing with Randall. Like, I think that whole equation is just kind of flipped. Like, individually, probably better players, but I think the fit is less optimal. So I'm not necessarily like going to automatically say he's going to average 28 points a game. He's going to be way better, because I just think his spots he's not going to have as much space to operate with. And that's where he works, because he loves to get downhill. He's a super athletic guy. He loves to kind of get space off the screens and pull up and stuff. So I just think that's going to be a little bit harder to come by, because like we were just talking about RJ, like he's not that efficient. Like he's not going to be a great shooter. Randall, I mean, a lot of people are saying like that season 2 years ago was a fluke, because he had the great shooting percentages and then he just kind of went back down to earth. And then Mitch Robinson is a non-factor. He's like another Gobert almost in a sense of work. So I'm like, I don't know if that's the best place for him as far as like fit and kind of becoming even better player. I just don't know if that supporting cast is going to really allow him to be that kind of player that he was in Utah from a spacing perspective.
Yeah, you'd have to get rid of Randall, because listen, man, I'm for me clean slate, because it looks like he's going to be on the team next year.
Hate Randall.
No, I don't hate Randall. I just didn't like the way he played, bro. That's what I mean.
You'll find me. Corey, you got a Donovan Mitchell card you can sell me.
I just wasn't a fan of the way he played. I feel like he sold a lot of games for us last year. Could have easily went to the playoffs. 37 games. It was like from January to March, they were 4-16. Like, that's ridiculous. And against dirt teams, lottery teams that had, top 5 picks in the draft this year, losing against those type of squads. And, I think the way he played a part in that. Got a point guard now, and Brunson had a great postseason, great year. So we'll see if that changes some things. I agree with you, spacing wise, it's tough, and I haven't seen Randall ever play off the ball. So it's tough for me to say. It's tough for me to say that that's going to work if you can't play off the ball. For me, great players, they're able to play on the ball and off the ball, and he's a good player, but he can't. If you can't play off the ball, it's going to be tough to win. Because you're not going to always have you're not going to have the basketball every time. That's why the Hawks went and got DeJounte Murray, because they want to play Trae Young more off the ball, because they saw what Miami did to him and it trapped the hell out of him, and he had a terrible series. Exactly. They closed the court up for him and made it small, and he struggled, and that's why he had a terrible round 1. So if he pulls up, great. If the deal is right, but if not, again, I like what the Knicks have, and I like how they build in through the draft, and I just want to see those guys play. I think they could be pretty productive. Grimes, McBride, Toppin quickly. When those guys get on the court and get confidence, because you got to play, you got to have confidence. Like that's the only way you could get better is you have confidence. The guy's taking you out after one mistake. Like how are you supposed to develop? How are you supposed to get better? You make one mistake and the guy putting Randall back in for the next 20 minutes. Like how is that guy supposed to grow? It's ridiculous. But exactly, it doesn't work like that. And that's why it's always been a cap on Thibodeau's career. It's just a limit on his coaching success because of the stubbornness. But all right, let's transition to another topic where it really started a few months ago with on First Take with JJ Redick and Bob Cousy.
Interesting.
It was JJ Redick and Mad Dog Russo. Just talking and Russo, he's your typical, I guess, old head and likes bringing up the 60s and the 50s NBA, and it looked like JJ Redick got a little triggered and said the old guys are plumbers and firemen, and Cousy couldn't dribble with his left hand. Disrespectful type stuff. I'm not gonna lie. Look, I would feel disrespectful. If I'm Bob Cousy, I feel disrespected. But somebody said that about me after all the accolades he got. So then Jerry West is interviewed this weekend on SiriusXM NBA Twitter account, and they asked him about the situation, and gonna try to see here if we could pull this clip up for you guys. See if you can hear the audio. Just give me 1 second.
Oh, look at us with audio too.
Going places.
It's trying, man. Trying.
Vegas.
All right. It's Vegas. All right, here's Jerry West.
JJ Redick, recently retired, said that Bob Cousy played against firemen and plumbers, and Bob came on and was key. And you played in that era, and those guys set the table for us to be where we are today. And I was just interested in your thoughts on comments like that about your generation and the generations that paved the way.
Well, obviously the game is completely different. The athletes are completely different. And I know JJ just a little bit. He's a very smart kid and everything. But tell me what his career looked like.
Boom.
What did he do that determined games? He averaged 12 points a game in the league. Somewhere along the way, numbers count. At that point in time, the players aren't what they used to be. JJ certainly wasn't going to guard the elite players. And so you can nitpick anyone. And I'm not, the only reason I'm talking about him is because he was not an elite player, but he was a very good player. And he had a place on the team because of his ability to shoot the ball. But those players at that era, and again, that was when I started to see the difference in athleticism. My era, I was an athlete way before my time. I had a huge vertical. Probably no one in the league was much faster than me. And certainly the competitive part of it, I would put myself among any player that played the game today also. Winning is all that matters. That's what drove me. And I subtly got better every year. We didn't have the facilities to get better. We had to work in the summers to support our family. But AJ should be very thankful that he's made as much money as he's made. And Bob Cousy, who I played against a couple of years, not very long, I just think it's very disrespectful myself.
I don't mind his comments. Because I feel like we do disrespect
JJ's.
No, like Jerry West. Like I don't mind his comments because I do think that to a degree we all kind of disrespect like the NBA like before the 80s and the 70s like a little bit too much because we obviously look at
John Stockton.
Oh my God, that's another topic for another day. But like we look at it basically like Bill won 11 championships in the 60s going up against Wilt. So like we only view Wilt as like that true competition, and that's how we view it as I guess pretty easy because we look at it as the competition just wasn't there. Now obviously the game like obviously like Jerry said the game is a lot different now. Players are way more athletic than what they were before, but I think we do kind of like disrespect the 60s and 70s just a little bit too much to a degree.
Yeah, Michael, what's your thoughts on old school versus new school? And
Since I guess I am the old head here in this group, I understand what JJ is saying. I do think it is disrespectful. I even liked what he kind of responded like, they weren't making the money that they do now. They couldn't dedicate basically.
You mean Jerry?
Life. Yeah, Jerry. Oh, no. I'm saying I understand what JJ was saying as far as that. I do get what he's saying. I do think it's disrespectful what he said, but I understand what he's saying. Like, they had to support their families. But that's why they couldn't be great, They were supporting their families. So I do think it's completely disrespectful what he's saying. I understand what he's saying, but I like Jerry's comeback to it as far as like, we didn't have the facilities because you guys – we've all played sports growing up, at least to some level. Like there's practices almost every day that you have to go to, workouts that you have to go to. Like you almost are basically committing your life to the sport until you finally quit. I did play 1 year of college basketball where we pretty much had practice every day, lifted weights early mornings as well. And I decided, hey, college basketball wasn't for me. Now, when I say that, guys, it's not like it was NCAA or anything like that. It was a lot lower than that. But hey, I played. So there
But
comes
Michael
a
played
point
at Duke
where,
University.
no, don't you dare say Duke with me. Whoa.
Oh,
Whoa.
no. You want to start something.
So, I mean, in a way, I'm going to say it's like the founding fathers, they're the ones that gave us what we have now, and they even made sacrifices back then to play the game from their families where they should be supporting back then. So, yeah, they lacked the talent. I won't use the word talent. They had skills that were underdeveloped. Let me say it that way, because I honestly think if they had the facilities, the education, or the technology we had now back then, they probably would have been able to do it too if they could make the money that they make at it now, because they could dedicate their whole life to it. I mean, you think Wilt, what he was doing at his size, I mean, if he had today's technology, wow. That's all I'm going to say. So, I mean, even Julius Erving, who I say on here a lot, Dr. J does not get enough credit of how athletic he was. So I can't say that they didn't have the skills. They just
Who discredits him?
I feel like a lot of media don't really have them ranked as high as he should be. The dude jumped from behind the backboard and brought it around. Like, it is beautiful to watch how he does that.
MJ before MJ.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I just feel like if they had the technology they do now, I think the era would have already been where it is now. So, yeah, they were athletes back then. They were at the top of the game as far as it was developed back then, So I don't know how we can really badmouth them. And it happens in baseball, too, a lot with my other show. Like, yeah, Babe Ruth hit the home run that he pointed out, but he also threw so many pitches, and it's only going 50 miles per hour. That was fast back then, That's all they had. They just fought a war and came back to play baseball. What do you expect them to do? So I don't know. I just think it's crazy. I do like his semi-shot at JJ. Like, and of all people, JJ, like, I mean, he had a long career playing defense, the sharpshooter and everything. But it'd be a little different if it's coming from someone like Giannis, maybe even Joel Embiid, LeBron, somewhere like that. Okay, now we can kind of understand a little bit. But it's JJ Redick. Like, I thought that was hilarious. He averaged 12 points a game. Like,
Return fire.
Yeah.
Thanks. It's the logo.
Yeah, I mean,
literally.
Yeah.
In all arguments, I bet you that's what he says. Like, what are we having for dinner? Oh, no, I want McDonald's. No, honey, I don't want McDonald's. I'm the logo. Okay, it's McDonald's.
Yeah,
I don't know. What's your all's thoughts?
Yeah, Aaron, what's your thoughts, man?
Pretty much in agreement with what Michael was saying. Definitely think it's disrespectful to kind of say it. I don't think it's what he said. I think it's like the way he framed it, the way he spinned it, saying that because, like, yeah, they were probably plumbers and firefighters or whatever. They had other careers because they had to, but you say it as like, instead of saying it in a way that you're just stating a fact, he kind of spinned it to be like a negative.
Derogatory.
It's very derogatory. Just saying these guys like, oh, they weren't really athletes. They were average working citizens and, whatever. But I'm like, I'm sure these guys were very capable, as, what was said before. Like, I'm sure they had great athleticism. They had the capabilities to pick up a lot of these skills and things like that. They just didn't have as many opportunities. So I am kind of against JJ in that respect, kind of spinning it that way. Definitely did get a kick out of Jerry's response. Who are you to say this stuff about these guys? Like, would you do much better than them? Or, did you do much better than they did in their careers? I think what we do too much in the NBA community is try to cross match across different eras. It's not really fair because there's different circumstances in certain eras. Like we're saying, like these guys don't have the athletic facilities. They don't have the opportunities that they have today. So I don't think it's fair to say like, well, this guy from the 2010s would dominate in 1965. Yeah, probably would. But it's
Exactly.
it's just, I don't think it's fair. I think we have to evaluate players in the era they're playing in. MJ, evaluate him from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. LeBron, 2000s to now, and kind of keep it that way. I think we should do a better job at appreciating greatness instead of trying to kind of put this player on a pedestal and discredit this player. Because I think that's what happens. It's like when you try to compare guys in different eras, you start to discredit somebody that played in the 60s or 70s before all these advancements came out. You put them down, disrespect them. And I don't think it's fair for them. And I think it's a disservice to the history of the game and what they contributed that allowed us to have what we have today, like you guys were saying before. So, I like to see a little bit less of that and more kind of respect given to them for what they've done for our game. Yeah, they didn't do the same things they did today. They weren't doing Kyrie Irving layups and dribbles in 1962. Like, it's just simple. But at the same time, for their era, the things that they did against their competition is still very impressive. And I think it deserves a ton of credit for what they did. The Bob Cousy's and these other guys. Even the guys that are on the 75th anniversary team that like no one knows who they are. Like they're like, who is this the guy from 1970 that made the team? We don't even know who they are.
Yeah.
They still deserve respect because what they did in their era was very impressive. And I think it goes beyond just stats. I think it goes also to like their impact on the game overall, like the pioneers and the founding fathers, like Michael was saying. So all that I think plays a part. So that's kind of my take on it. Just like to see us kind of be a little bit more respectful to the prior eras and not try to cross match as much as we do, because I think you kind of lose how special those guys were in their era, what they did against their competition.
Respect your elders.
Absolutely.
Right. I just started thinking, I was like, does anybody like remember like where the JJ Redick Mad Dog conversation like even stemmed from? Like, were they like comparing Bob Cousy to somebody like Chris Paul or something?
Yeah, they were talking about. Yeah, he was talking about point guards, and Mad Dog was like, he's no, come on, like he's no Bob Cousy, and then that's when JJ got triggered and it was like Bob Cousy can't even dribble with his left hand, and then that's when he started going off and saying, yeah, they play with firemen and plumbers. You gotta respect the elders. Like, listen, like pretty much, I agree. I'm shocked. I thought it was gonna be at least one of us to say. Who's Jerry West would get cooked and he wasn't that good, and if JJ played in this era, because
who did you think would say that?
I have no idea. I kept an open mind with it. I was unsure who would say it. But
if we're gonna keep it a bean, I mean Jerry West against like Dwayne Wade is like who would y'all have?
Oh, Jerry West.
But that's what I'm saying. Like it's kind of like with the cross switching. You know what I mean? It's tough to really do that.
But that's the thing. Like keep everybody in their era basically. Like the guys in the '60s they played their role. The guys now are doing their thing as well.
Yeah, but you got these like so-called like basketball analysts, right? And then they talk about they try to disrespect the OGs in the game, and they act like basketball only started after 1990. It's like, come on, like you gotta show more respect to the game, because at the end of the day, those guys they probably were firemen and plumbers because they couldn't afford, they had to be the same. Yeah, they had to be like so.
Right. And that's the thing though, because it's like the guys who played a little bit after, like for example, like the 80s, like Magic, Larry, like so they were obviously inspired by like the Jerrys, the Bill Russells of those guys. So
they needed somebody. They watched somebody to make them fall in love with the game, and those were the guys that preceded them. So, I just think JJ was just triggered. He's kind of emotional, and he goes on his rant.
I think it was a show.
Yeah, it's just entertainment. It was entertainment, but at the end of the day, it's like you still gotta respect. You gotta respect the game. I mean, that game's given him so much, and he's made a lot of money because of those guys. I mean, because of how they paved the way for the sport to be entertaining enough for people to put butts in seats and people to pay for tickets to pull up to these arenas and facilities. So it's a respect factor there, and I just think again, you try to. I was looking at NBA Twitter, and everybody's like, NBA Twitter is so toxic. It's so bad. And
it's full of like 13-year-old kids, bro, who started watching basketball like the year that the Cavs came back for 3-1 or whatever.
Yeah, it's very lazy. It's very lazy, and it's just sad. I mean, it don't take nothing to really just really do your homework on the game of basketball and look at these guys. NBA TV. I don't know if they used to show hardwood classics all the time. They should show those throwback.
They still do.
That's how I fell. That's how I fell in love with the game. Watching stuff like that on those channels. appreciating the OGs, and then also, you know, games like NBA Streets when they used to bring back the old players, and that's how, you know, I think 2K12 they had the old school guys on the commercial. So that's how I fell in love with the game of basketball. So I think I mean, these people, we fall in love with the debate world, you know, Shannon and Skips.
Game breaker right now.
It's honestly good that you point that out, because like I remember just being like 10, 11 years old, you know, NBA offseason, you know, obviously I was upset that the season ended, but I remember going on NBA TV just watching like the Bulls in the 90s, the Lakers in the 80s, or whoever in the 70s, and
the
whatever.
Lakers in the Boston
like,
series.
Exactly. So it was like, you know, if you ask like a person like 11, 12 today, like, do they remember Reggie Miller scoring 8 points in 8 seconds? Like, they're like, you know what I'm saying? Like, do they even know about that? Do they know about MJ's flu game or whatever? Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, I don't know. I just feel like, you know, a lot of people,
Houston,
like stuff like that.
Again, like I said, they're lazy, and you know, we grew up in this debate world where it's like, you know, it's, you say a lot of things without context, and that's exactly what NBA Twitter is, just talking without context.
And respect. Like, I'm turning into the dad here, so I won't stay on it most, but like respect in this younger generation, like we know that's not a thing anymore. So
no, it's not. It's a dying thing, and it's a shame, because like we're saying, it's like the people that came before us. It's like you got to respect them, because you know they didn't play the same as the guys do today, but their impact was just as great, if not greater, than who's playing right now. So you got to give them props for that.
Exactly. Show love to the evolution of the game. All right, let's go to notable NBA free agents left. You know, obviously there was some big guys that got signed in the beginning of free agency, but it's a couple, speaking of old heads, there's some old heads left that could potentially, you know, make an impact on some contenders. Just want to get your thoughts with that.
Can we believe DeAndre Jordan's still getting signed on the team?
That's crazy.
Where did he get?
I think he went to Denver. Yeah,
Denver. Okay,
that blows my mind. that man was washed.
Which is crazy, especially after Boogie just had a pretty good year with them.
Yeah, exactly. I thought Boogie would be the one coming back.
Yeah,
which he's not signed either.
Yeah, so we got some guys here. Colin Sexton. I mean, they offered him 3 years over 40. He said he wasn't too happy with the contract he received. Got injured last year with the torn meniscus, was out for the entire season. Where do you see Colin Sexton? Do you see him going back to Cleveland, or you see some teams like maybe Dallas, some other teams that potentially might need a scoring guard, a scoring option, where he could contribute? Start with Michael and then go all the way down.
I don't think he'll be back as a Cavalier. I'll say that at least. Now, where, I don't know. It definitely, of course, we'll probably be repeating this stuff quite a bit. It kind of falls in dominoes, who's going to be signed elsewhere or traded, you know, with Kyrie and all that stuff as well. Even what we talked about earlier with Donovan Mitchell. Could he be an option for the Knicks, even with the Dallas? I kind of like both those options there a little bit, but I do like him going to Dallas to help out there.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see him going back to Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland been trying to trade him for like the last 2 to 3 years anyways. So, you know, this is just kind of an opportunity for him to like look elsewhere for another opportunity, especially now, you know, I think they just re-signed Rubio as well. They have Rubio, obviously Darius Garland, who had a most improved type season this past year. And then they got other guys that Karis LeVert as well. So I think, you know, with Colin Sexton's lack of like, you know, being a consistent perimeter scorer, I think that kind of like puts him in a difficult position being on the Cleveland team. So, you know, Dallas is definitely a good option. I thought I heard San Antonio as well. I can't exactly remember, but I just know that Colin Sexton just needs to have another opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah,
so you guys think he should take a prove it deal, a 1 year?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Like a 1 year, I don't know, 15, 18 mil. You know, give him that. You know, most of the money he's looking for. I'm sure he wants 20, upwards in the $20 million range, but maybe a slight pay cut 1 year. 1+1, something like that, maybe with a team option, and give him the opportunity to get back to full strength. I think San Antonio would be a good spot for him to kind of just immediately be in the rotation, be a starter, have plenty of opportunities, play for a team with very low expectations, low pressure. So you just go out there, just ball, score 20+ points a game, high efficiency, as he did the season before last where he was healthy, and do that again, and then, you know, kind of use that as a springboard into his next contract, going into his next season. So that's my expectation. I don't know if anybody wants to sign him for a multi-year deal right now, because the Spurs have the clean slate, and then most other teams don't need a guy like that in their rotation, like a starting guard that very ball dominant, not a great facilitator, gets tunnel vision, not a great defender. So I think going to a team like San Antonio that kind of really can afford to have him have a season where maybe he's not as good as he was before, or maybe he's not that defender or whatever. They can afford to bring him in both from a financial perspective and from an on-court perspective, and not really suffer at all from it. So that's my guess as to what happens. And I think it's in his best interest to take a prove-it deal, just because I don't think there's going to be much out there in terms of long-term. Maybe a team like Cleveland, 3 years, but at that point you're taking less money. So better to get that 1 year, have a good season, and then go back into free agency, get another opportunity to get a longer-term deal once you show that you're back at full strength after that injury last season.
Yeah, sucks. He's such in a tough spot because, one, he's restricted, so he's not like some of these other guys where he could just go where he wants. And teams, I'm shocked. Teams really haven't offered him any type of deal. He's a relatively young guy. He's just in a tough situation because the year that he doesn't play, the Cavs had their best season since LeBron and Kyrie were there. So it's very difficult for him, and obviously his value probably decreased because of what happened last year and how successful Cleveland was without him. I agree with those teams. I think those teams would be good spots for him. Honestly, maybe anywhere really. Just so he could get on the court, get some, just so teams can really just show, so he could show teams, okay, I'm back. Here's what I could do, and then also similar to what Aaron said as well, is just show that you could do a little bit more than just be a bucket. Be more of an all-around type player. Sacrifice a little bit, play defense, be more of a facilitator, get guys involved, rebound a little bit. I'm a fan. I've been a fan of his since high school. He's a big high school guy coming out. He was sensation all his life and things like that. So I think he's very talented. He could score, but it's about doing the other things. So hopefully he gets something soon. Maybe it may work out for him. He may end up on a really good team and really show his impact. And it could help him get a nice little deal. You look at GP2. He was bounced around, didn't know what was going to happen. Situation's a little different, but ended up going to a really good team, showed his impact, and then he got the bag with Portland. So hopefully things work out with him. We don't got to go through all these guys, but obviously some of the notables. Carmelo. I saw Dennis Schroeder try to shoot a shot with LeBron again, try to make amends.
He had a chance.
Yeah,
I didn't even see that. That's funny.
Yeah, he folded that bag. Well, we talked about Cousins a little bit. What do you think he could go? He said he wanted. I saw an interview where he said he wanted to go to the Lakers, but he wanted a starting role. Where do you see Cousins and Carmelo? And then we'll see. I'll throw another guy in here. We got Bo from the hustle. Aaron Gomez on here. Let's say
Blake Griffin.
Yeah, Blake Griffin. Yeah, let's those three guys. What do you see the future for them? Contenders, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know if Boogie can really be a starter at this point in his career in the NBA, but he can definitely be a great second option, great backup center, as we saw last season in Denver. So, unfortunately, which I still don't understand, they're not bringing him back. So, I don't know. I could probably see him in Phoenix, like a team like Phoenix, being right behind DeAndre Ayton. Since I think McGee is out of there, isn't he?
Yeah, he's in Dallas now.
Yeah. So, yeah, I could definitely see Phoenix, another team. Honestly, I can't even think of another team, but yeah, Phoenix would definitely be a great solid pickup for them.
I heard about Melo.
I'm still on this Cousins here a little bit.
Okay.
Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. And I know I ride this.
Oh my God, it's another Kentucky guy. He's gonna
No.
She's gonna say Miami.
I'm gonna say Miami. I want to hear y'all's thoughts on this because Bam can
go
1 through 5. Defense, he struggles, I'll say, a little bit with the 5. So you got Cousins being the big man down there. On offense, you got Cousins, who has a decent-looking shot from deep. I won't say it's great, but it's at least – it's less than P.J. Tucker's. But, at least there's an option there where you can have those two switch on offense. Because I always felt like Miami has been wonderful with back when they had Kelly Olynyk playing basically the 4 on offense, the 5 on defense with Bam in that, and then even having PJ Tucker come in with the kind of the same thing. So they're going to miss that PJ toughness. Cousins is flat out tough. He'll throw a ball at anybody that steps into there. Pat Riley, being the Kentucky man he is, comes in and say, hey, Cousins, prove it here a little bit. You played great. Let's just do a 1-year deal. Won't say you start every game, but at least when we play big ball, we got you and we can roll with you, because Cousins' mentality as far as him all around is Miami. Like, the way that they work, the way that they fight really everyone, that's Cousins. So I think Miami could be an option for him. I do think his best bet would be to sign back with the Nuggets, because he is one that needs the ball in his hands a little more. He does have a good passing ability. Like I said, he can shoot. I just feel like I'm trying to get around to this without saying it negative towards him, but the big man is almost the center positions kind of change. You've got to be one that can jump out of a gym and protect the rim, but also catch the lobs and be mobile. With his injuries, he's not very agile per take in that. Like, he's going to have his back to the goal, need the ball where he can just bully around, throw a ball at someone's head, and then lay it in. Or he could catch it at the elbow or at the top of the key, like Jokic or Joker brings it up to.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jokic is an anomaly.
You're right. So I mean, I won't say he's like the Joker, but
he was Jokic before Jokic. Like, what he was doing Sacramento.
Right. Well, I'm saying, like, right now, like, he's a poor man Joker.
Right. Yeah, you could say that.
So, I mean, he would be a good person off the bench to come in for Joker and still actually be able to run the same offense. Like, most of the time you take Joker out, you got to change the offense up some, because your big man's not going to be able to do the same thing. Cousins, you could.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just sad. It's just sad with DeMarcus. Yeah,
it is, man. Oh my God.
Just think about what could have been in New Orleans with him and AD.
I watched that Achilles too.
The Sacramento days, man. Oh my God.
His prime. Yeah, his prime was wasted with that franchise, unfortunately. Yeah. And then, lastly, like I said, we don't got to go through everybody. What you guys think where Melo is going to go?
That's a tough one.
I think Melo stays in LA.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good spot for him. He had a great season there, and he operated a lot as like a stretch four, so he'd be a catch and shoot guy, catch and shoot target for the LeBron James kickouts and such. In the corner on the wing, I think he shot a high percentage from 3. Sprinkled in a little of his signature post ups and post fadeaways. You can throw that in a little bit. Be a decent rebounder with a signature, get the F out of here. I got it. That never gets old.
Classics.
So that's always fun. I think LA is a good spot for him. Go ahead to Cousins real quick, because, Michael touched on him. I don't really see a spot for him in Miami per se, just because they seem set in their rotation with Bam, Yurtseven, and they re-signed Dedmon. So right. I think that's kind of the door's kind of closed there for him. But I do see 2 other destinations for him in Philadelphia, because I think they have Paul Reed there as like technically their backup center, so they could have room for one more. And then also in LA with the Clippers, because they had Isaiah Hartenstein there before, but he's gone. They couldn't afford to pay him. He got a bigger deal elsewhere. I can't remember where he signed.
Knicks.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I thought it was New York.
Yeah. So he's in there in New York. So, I mean, they have an open backup center spot that he can fill. Coming in behind Zubac, being a nice stretch 5 option for them. So I like those 2 destinations for him. He could fill in a nice role there. But as far as Melo, I think it's best bet probably stay in LA. I think they have a good relationship there. He has a good sense of like how to play there. I think they've got a good sense of chemistry after that 1 year there. So I think that'd be a good spot for him. I don't know really of anywhere else where he's really needed like that. But he had a good season in LA, and hopefully he can replicate that if he were to come back for a second season.
Yeah, I agree. I think those are good spots for Cousins. Definitely, Philadelphia is definitely one because it's similar to like what Michael was saying with Jokic. 2 guys big men that like play with their back to the basket, you can kind of keep the same type of offense when those guys are on the bench because of what the skill set of Cousins. So I think that sounds like that's a great opportunity. We'll see what happens with him there. I think that'd be a great spot for him to play behind and be. Harden loves giving the ball to either rolling bigs or bigs that like to pop. So I think that'd be a good fit. And I agree. Yeah, Melo, Lakers. I mean, it's just tough for me to see any other team right now. I just want to see him at least on a contender. I know they didn't really contend last year, but if those guys are healthy, you would hope they'd have a much better season. And he played better at home than on the road. He was definitely more of a better player at the crypto.com arena.
I'll never accept that.
Yeah,
Staples Center forever.
Yeah,
Hey, when they changed the name, that's when they really started to be.
They curse themselves.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. They definitely did. But I think Lakers is the best spot for him. He has a relationship with LeBron, and like you guys said, that driving kick. I salute him. He was out the league for a little bit. Houston kind of got blackballed with D'Antoni, and went to Portland and really transitioned into a stretch forward. A sniper from the corner, kind of like a PJ Tucker minus the defense, and it's not knocking down some shots and found a nice role for him. In the latter stages of his career, he was smart, and we'll see. People say the Knicks. I don't want to see him here because it just doesn't make any sense. Because I want to see Toppin, and Toppin is the backup power forward, and I want to see him develop. So you bring in a guy like Melo, it just doesn't make any sense to bring him there. You really just stifling the minutes of Obi Toppin, a guy that the Knicks really need to see what they have with him moving forward.
Only future.
Yeah, but you could have a calm mix, but yeah, definitely.
But Melo's not a calm mix. I mean, the reason why I think he stays in LA is because I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to go to a team and says, "Hey, I'm going to be the veteran leader here," and kind of say, "This is what it's going to take to win." Right. Yeah,
that's not him. That's not him right now.
Yeah.
That's not him right now. It's definitely past that.
He's just enjoying playing basketball with LeBron James and Anthony Davis and getting a check for it.
Yep.
Facts.
I would be okay too, LeBron, if you need someone else to just stand in the corner and not play defense and shoot the ball when you pass it out to him. Just write me a check.
Yep.
All right, last topic before we finish up here, man. Aaron, thanks again for stopping by, man. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely, guys. One last comment I got is when we were talking about the different eras and comparing eras, I just saw Draymond put up a tweet just a little while ago because he's watching the '98 Bulls. So he said that
he was watching us, but I mean that's okay.
Yeah. He could have been watching us because he commented on it, but he said if we compared eras, or he says it's dumb to compare eras because he said we would have beaten these Bulls by a dub and these Jazz by 40 if they're going to play these brands of basketball. That was his comment on Twitter. So I just felt like that was timely because we just talked about it. But like he said, don't compare eras like that, man. It just doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
I disagree with that anyway, like what he said, but it doesn't
at this point, I'm just so tired of comparing the teams. Like they do it all the time. Like the '96 Bulls against the Warriors. They do it like the '01 Lakers against the '17 Warriors. It's like who cares at this point?
They match up well. It's a nice on paper. It's a nice matchup.
But I mean, it's like it's all hypothetical. We're never gonna see it. So it's like
of course. All right. Last topic before we wrap it up. This is create a team of players under 25. We got a $15 limit. We're gonna start with Michael. What's your team with the $15 that you got in your pocket?
It's tough.
I already know who he's picking first at the $5 list.
Who's that?
I'm not saying.
Where's this card? I mean, I do have it right here, actually. But no, I'm not taking Zion.
Okay.
No.
I was surprised.
That $10 card is an investment of $10. I'm sorry. It's not $10. It was graded 10. There's a difference. But no, as far as under 25 right now, I mean, you got to take See, here's the only thing I hate about this. Because I try to be strategic. I want a guard, I want a big man, and everything. But they don't have, like, one level of centers, one level of power forwards. So,
Yeah.
it makes it a little difficult because, I'm looking at the $4, and you got Ball in there, who's a point guard in there with Ayton. Okay, if I go 5 here with Luka, I've got to try to figure out who I want to go as far as that as well.
I got Jared Allen at 2, Jerry Jackson Jr., Evan Mobley. That's some guys. Versatile bigs. That's the way.
Not that I'm on the number ones yet, but I can't see who some of the ones because the creative team is covering them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, besides Jalen Green and Jaren Jackson, I can't see the other ones. I think that's Maxey right next to Jalen Green.
No problem. Just take that off.
Okay. Okay.
There we go. Okay, Halliburton, Maxey, Green, Jaren Jackson. Ooh, I like that Jaren Jackson number.
I'm gonna go. I'll start. I'm gonna say I got Zion at 5.
Okay.
I'll go Bi $4.
Okay.
Lonzo at $3. Need a facilitator. And then I'm gonna go with Mobley. Which at $2. I was just watching his little program running out with KD. I was dropping buckets, and then $1 I had Green. Actually, no, I had Jaren Jackson, Jaren Jackson Jr. So I got some versatile forwards, facilitator. Then I got 2 guys that can give me 30 now, and Bi and Zion.
See, my lineup doesn't look like I'm going to have anyone really big.
Who's next?
Did you say where's Jared Allen? You said he's number 2, right?
Yeah, Jared Allen at $2. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Give me Allen. Give me Luka. Give me Ant-Man. Give me Bane. And I need someone from the $1. You know what? Give me my Kentucky boy, and I'll be happy. All right.
Nice. All right.
Okay, so what are the rules? Like, can we not pick the same player that you guys picked, or
No, pick
Okay. All right, so if it's me, I'm gonna go. I got Luka, then I got Ant-Man, then I'm gonna go.
You can't pick my team. Never mind. No, you can't do it. You gotta pick someone different.
Hang on. I got Luka. I got Ant-Man. I'm gonna go Lonzo. I'll go Jared Allen, and then I'll go Jaren Jackson Jr.
I will say I went Allen, but I really want to go with Poole, but I needed a big. Otherwise, Poole for $2, that's a steal. That is a bargain, boys. He's about to take it.
Mobley at $2 is a steal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yep.
That is
I like that
bargain. What you got?
All right. So I'm gonna go with the $5 Luka. At the $4 spot, Anthony Edwards. At the $3 spot, Desmond Bane.
There we go. Give him some love to him.
9. I think that's 12. At the $2 spot, I got Jared Allen. And at the $1, Jaren Jackson Jr.
All right.
There we go.
Everybody went with Luka except me.
Okay. Yep, Luka, and then
we didn't want to say anything, but
hey, man, I like Luka, bro, but I'm a fan of Zion. I think he's a special guy, man.
Okay,
special, man.
So if this is 2023, we might have a different story, but we ain't seen him play in a year, so it's kind of hard to go.
Oh, now we agree with me. I've been saying that like the last few months now. Y'all be like, oh, Zion, he averaged 27 the year before.
I'm still on that, bro. I ain't changed.
I like how you was hating.
Yeah.
I like Nick how you was hating on me for not picking Zion because of the card when I've got a Luka one right here as well. I mean, just saying.
Respect.
27 and 7 on 60. I mean, I got to take that. Then
he's a legend.
Oh yeah, if he's healthy,
then I got
$6.
Then I got Bi, and then him and Zion and Zoe got the connection already with the lobs. So
you practically picked the Pelicans from 2 years ago.
Yeah. Facts. With Mobley at the 4. Come on, man.
That's nasty.
Come on, man. That's a different type of lineup. But But all
Aaron,
right,
I know we're pretty much done with the show, but I just want to ask you real quick, what do you think of the Pelicans this coming year?
Man, I have high hopes for them, to be honest. Just looking at Zion's, impending return and, BI as, just everything he brings to the table. And then the young guns that are coming up, like Herb Jones. And then, was it a
Trey Murphy? Yep.
Yeah. He had a
Jose Alvarado.
movie, like Alvarado, Grand Theft Alvarado. Like they got a squad.
That's nice. That's a good nickname. That's actually
that's a great nickname.
That's a great
fantastic. Yep. So I have high hopes for them. I think they can really make some noise. I mean, they already made the playoffs this last season. So next season they can be in the right in the thick of it. So I think they're going to be between. I'm not going to put them in the absolute elite class, but anywhere from 5 to 7 seed, I think, in the West. I think is fair.
5 to 7 seed. What you mean? Thank you.
But I swear, one of y'all said that they were going to get to the conference finals. I swear, one of y'all said that they were going to get to the conference finals. I was like, no way.
It's not me. I'm not there yet.
It must have been Michael. Because my thing is,
I don't know what I'm saying.
I said they could be a top 5 seed in the West with the talent they have.
I'm not mad at that though, but like my thing is that the Pelicans are a good team. We saw that this past year, in that Phoenix series, but I'm not banking on Zion being healthy like the entire year to really see like if they can really elevate to like a top contender in the West. So that's my concern. Obviously, with Zion on the floor when he's healthy, he's one of the more dominant players in the league, but I just can't bank on him being healthy for like a significant amount of time.
I'm with you, man.
Zion, most improved player next year.
Oh my God!
I mean,
was it going to shoot 75%?
Can't really be most improved when.
Really
just comeback player, I guess.
Comeback player. That's what I was going to say. Comeback player of the year.
But still, like
he improved because he learned how to get healthy. I guess.
Yeah, because he stopped eating fried food. Improved health.
Lay off the gumbo.
Yeah.
Lay off the gumbo.
Well, boys, I think that pretty much wraps our show up. We're under 2 hours, so that's phenomenal on that. Aaron, again, thank you so much. So much for coming on here. We envy you for being out in Vegas. We are trying to reach your goals of what you had this year, so we will be there. Keep doing everything you're doing. Keep grinding. And, just going to go ahead and throw this out here. Invitation for us to come on your show, we accept. So, with that being said, go ahead and give her your little shout-out. I say little. That sounds totally not right. Shout out your stuff real quick there. Tell them what you got going on, everything again, just so in case anybody forgot or didn't hear it.
Sure. So over at No Trade Clause, that's where I'm currently contributing, helping out with the website. So if you want to check us out on Twitter, our Twitter handle is #NoTrade_clause. So we have graphics going up over there. We have links to all of our different resources. Our website is on there. Our website, by the way, is notradeclause.com, just like all one word. That's where you can find like our cap sheets and our transaction tracker and all that good information. So definitely check us out. And then we have a podcast as well. We try to go live every week or almost every week with some pretty legit guests. So if you want to check that out, it's going to be over at No Trade Clause. Just type it into Spotify, Apple Podcasts. It's all right there. I'm in the process of talking to some people, getting them on for the next couple of weeks. So we're going to have some solid content coming up. Awesome. Be sure to give us a look. Check out the website, podcast, and more content coming soon. But appreciate you guys. Thanks for the time. Always a great chat, and keep it going over at CTB. Some great stuff over here, guys.
So. CTB, man, we got a lot of things coming soon. Definitely.
Yep.
Love it. Nick, CJ, y'all want to give your shout outs real quick?
You can go first, CJ.
Yeah, linktree.com/cjames9. You can find everything I got going on. NBA, NFL, Knicks Boulevard, Forever Patriots. New channels on the way for all things Patriots and all things Knicks. Garda podcast, obviously that's a staple. Still new episode dropped 2 weeks ago. You guys want to check that out? New episode on the way. That's it.
Follow me on Twitter at NickAndreATR. Very active on there as well. Definitely check out. check out. Oh yeah, definitely follow us at Count Bucket USN. Check us out on Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcast at. Check out the Hoop Truthers. Shout out to my guy Augu, who I believe is in Mexico right now. So we're taking a week off. And next series, Forgotten Players Part 2.5, August 1st. Look out for that. That's about it.
Awesome. And of course, you can follow me, MD Lawson00, pretty much on any social media platforms as I drop my AirPod. Link in the bio for a link tree on all that whole 9 yards. Also got a show on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Backstop Banter, everything baseball. And that's about it. Let's go ahead and wrap it up, boys. Y'all have a good one.
Deuces.